As weekends go, that one was pretty darn special. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is indeed the Arsenal news show. Well, it's actually not. It's the Arsenal Raw Reaction show. But I've done so many of these. It's been the international break. I've done so many new shows now that it feels like the reaction show's taken a back step. But certainly the attention is all on the reactions of yesterday, of this weekend. Apologies for there not being a show yesterday. I'll talk a little bit more about why there wasn't a show yesterday in part two. Those of you, of course, that saw my message will know already why. But I'll talk more about that in the second part of the show when we get the football stuff focused in on, which is important to focus on. Absolutely. Good morning to all of you joining us live in the chat box. Thank you so much as always for doing so. Apologies that YouTube still seemingly hasn't sorted out the naming system. I don't quite know why you're still ats in the chat rather than your actual names, so apologies for that. But Yavan Guru, Kirill, good morning to you, to Nifty Legend, to John, good morning to Carrie Ann, good morning to Andy, to Rye. We've got Sukiesh in the chat, we've got Cardi, we've got Amesy, good morning to you, to Claire, Mandy, thank you so much for joining us. Mandy and Andy, John, we've got Neelap Deepo, we've got Too Many Sheeple in the chat as well, and plenty more of you guys and girls in the chat also. So thank you so much for listening. Greatly appreciate you being here, and I hope that indeed you have had and are going to continue to have a great fair few days, and that you return to your work offices this Monday morning with a gloating smile and the ability to rub your brilliant Sunday afternoon result into the faces of anybody that, quite frankly, you care or don't care about in the best way possible, because that's what it is all about. We let it all work out, and that's what we've got the bragging rights for. It's just a glorious day. I have to say, I'm never a fan of the build-up to, you know, the North London derby. I can't stand it. It's one of my least favorite games of the season, because while the high can be so high, the low is just one of the worst lows you can possibly feel as an Arsenal fan. So there's always that risk, always that concern, always that worry. But I will say, when I stood in the press box, or rather the press lounge yesterday, chatting to a couple of friends of mine, and it was a heavy press box yesterday. It was just, I've never seen it so busy. I walked in about 2.5 hours before kickoff. So what, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Barely any seats left in the press lounge. If any of you have ever done the stadium tour, you would have been walked through the press lounge, and it's pretty big, but there was barely a seat. And within, you know, people were arriving 2 hours before kickoff, unable to get kind of a booth to set up to prepare for the afternoon. So it was amazingly busy. And of course, I'll upload my match day vlog on my Instagram account later on this morning at Tom Cantor Media, if you're not following me over there already. But it was a heavy day, and I was chatting to Ed Aarons about this, and just saying, I've never felt this calm. I felt really calm, more calm than I've ever felt about a derby of this size and magnitude and importance for Arsenal. And I'm quite glad that calmness was followed by a performance and a scoreline that absolutely reflected why, clearly, I felt more calm than ever before about Arsenal and about Arsenal in this derby. But let's crack on with today's slide, shall we? Make sure we drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. We do these shows to the best of my ability every single morning at 8 a.m, breaking down all the latest news. With it being the festive period, we're going to have more shows than ever, more guests than ever, and more brilliance and insights than ever. So make sure that you are subbed and tuning in each morning at this time. Bring your coffee, bring your tea, bring your orange juice, whatever your tipple in the morning is, or wherever you happen to be, of course, in the world. Maybe you're bringing your dinner. If you're over in the Far East, then perhaps you're bringing your dinner to these shows. But thank you to all of you, as always, for tuning in and leaving your very kind comments. We read out as many of your comments as we can in part 2 in our question section, so make sure you stick around for that as well. But let's go through today's slides, and we begin, of course, with the overhaul of what has been a near-perfect North London derby experience. 4 goals. The only goal that they got came from absolutely nothing. Zubimendi caught holding onto the ball for a little too young, which did undermine what I thought was, again, another very solid display from the Spanish midfielder. But ultimately, this was all about Eberechi Eze. We'll talk about him, of course, in a lot more detail as we go through the slides. But overall, Arsenal's performance sends that statement out. There was some concern after the Sunderland draw that maybe Arsenal's kind of momentum had been affected and that somehow they were going to find themselves struggling to regain that form momentum, that winning streak. But after 10 wins in a row and so few goals conceded, they found themselves yet again scoring. I will say that the goal that Arsenal did concede and yet another one being conceded, kind of a little bit of a frustration, of course, considering that Arsenal's defensive record had been so good, but it was a complete 0.02 XG was apparently the chance that Richarlison scored. In fact, Spurs finished the game with an XG of 0.07. 0.07 XG in the entire game. Woof. Absolutely mad. And I think that really kind of broke into how Thomas Frank set up. I think he got it completely wrong. I don't know about you, but thinking about how previous Brentford sides have come to the Emirates and set up with back fours and set up on the counter and have threatened Arsenal, have taken points off Arsenal, have been really good. He's supposed to have a better squad now, Thomas Frank. He's supposed to have a better team, more quality available to him, regardless of whether they're Spurs or not. And yet he's come to Arsenal and played the most defensive setup he's ever played, despite the fact he's now got more quality, supposedly, at his disposal. And it just seems mad to me that when you have a look back at kind of some of the Brentford teams that have come to Arsenal under Thomas Frank and caused us a lot of problems, and to set up with a back five, to put two in midfield and then three kind of forward players, it kind of does become four in midfield, I guess, with Kudus and who was on the left? Odebear. But it was a 5-2-3, and I think that was their undoing. Really was their undoing in this game. And Spurs offered pretty much next to nothing throughout the game's entirety. Very, 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 very little indeed, as Arsenal ran away with a derby win. The lineup, I think, was as many expected. Of course, I thought it might be Mosquera, Saliba, Calafiori, but it was Hincapie who was actually given the nod. We'll talk about him in a little bit as well. But I don't think there were any surprises in the Arsenal team. The big benefits, of course, was seeing that both Madueke and Martinelli back amongst the substitutes. Really big boost, of course, that as well, to see those two, because with so many big games coming up, so many midweek games coming up, we need to have as deep a squad as feasibly possible. So having both Madueke and Martinelli in the team is also really, really key as well. 2 seconds, because I can feel the TCG sneeze there. Just managed to mute myself just in time. But yeah, it was just, I don't think there was any surprises, really. It was only one contentious kind of choice between Mosquera and Hincapie, really, and either of them would have been great picks, but it was Hincapie on the day. Before the game kicked off, though, we were treated to what has to be the biggest turnaround when it comes to a Tifo that we have ever seen. Because the last Tifo that Arsenal, of course, had and was shown was pretty dire. You know, we have to be honest about that. I think we can all admit that it was against PSG, one of the worst Tifos ever. But when it comes to this particular Tifo, I think we can all agree that this is quite considerably better. And I think also it gives us a great platform for maybe future Tifos and future opportunities. I don't know if we'll see this, of course, used again on Wednesday. We've got a game against Bayern Munich at home in the Champions League, a great opportunity perhaps to, again, recreate another brilliant atmosphere inside the Emirates Stadium on a Champions League night. I don't see why it wouldn't be appropriate. I know there's a lot of North London connotations about this Tifo in particular, with these streets are our own, of course, linking back to the Angel and individuals on here like Tony Adams and Sol Campbell and Thierry Henry, of course, who have got their links into the derby. But all of these players have relevance in Arsenal's history, of course, as well. So I think that there could be a potential for this to be reused in other games also. But it was a brilliant display, and I think really does turn around the little embarrassment that we had last time. Because now Arsenal fans, anytime any fan pathetically decides to send you a message with that old Arsenal Tifo, well, you've got pictures like this, of course, doing the rounds online, which you can send back in response. And yeah, what occasion, what brilliance. I loved it. It was glorious to see. Fair play to everyone involved, all the supporter clubs, of course. I think Red Action in particular and the Arsenal Supporters Trust of course, I think had hands in this. So those two, beyond anyone else, I think deserve a lot of credit. And the fact that the club, of course, did indeed kind of collaborate with the club to create this is also really important to point out. Arsenal get underway for their 4-1 victory with a fantastic move and goal from a player who, of course, the big conversation will be about Eze. But if there's one other player I think that needs more attention from yesterday's game, then it absolutely has to be Leandro Trossard. What a performance from Leandro Trossard. Again, another brilliant display. Of course, he gets an assist later on for Eze's third goal. But what a performance from our Belgian left wing. He is and has been by far one of our best players this season. He's now got 3 goals and 2 assists in his last 5 Premier League games. His goal against Sunderland was sublime. His goal here was great. The ball for Merino as well also deserves massive credit. I love this from Gooner. As I said, he did a 360 no-scope, which is quite good. There was a slight deflection, I think, which is actually quite meaningful. I think Van der Ven's touch, of course, takes it round Vicario. But the timing of the run, the perfection of the pass from Merino, the spin, and, of course, to get the shot away, which then forced the opener, is just great, of course, from Trossard, whose game overall has just feel like it's taken itself to another level. And I felt it appropriate. I knew that everyone was going to be asking about about Eberechi in the post-match press conference. So I felt it appropriate that I should probably ask a question and bring some attention to Leo. And I said to Arteta, it's felt like Leo's one of best performances from him. And with so much noise and talk around him in the summer and then taking a game like that by the scruff of the neck, it really felt like he took things to a new level. He said, yeah, for me, no, because it was forbidden for him to leave. No chance. I know the player that he is and surrounded with the players that we have. He's a player that is going to make a difference for us. I fully agree. It was one of the best games, so aggressive with it and without the ball, so effective. He could have scored 1 or 2 goals and he was involved in so many positive actions. So that's what we need. As I said, I think individually the players were excellent today. He's absolutely right. I think Leo is part of that. And the ball again from Merino, which acknowledges, bring some attention to Merino. We'll talk about him, don't worry. But it was a great opening goal in the game. But we can't really get too far into this show without the attention, of course, turning to just this man. One of the best hat-tricks I think you'll ever see. One of the best hat-tricks. The best hat-trick, I think, in a North London derby. The first in 47 years since Alan Sunderland. Another great piece of footballing history. But to be in your first ever North London derby, to have this performance, to have these impacts in a game, utterly and entirely sublime. Has there been a better North London derby debut? Very, very difficult to think of who could have produced as good of a debut as him. And of course, I was on with Andrew on the Arscast on Thursday, and I did, of course, we had a little bit of a talk about Eze. And I have to hold my hands up here. For me, I was looking forward to Odegaard coming back so that Eze would have more of a role to play on the left-hand side. And potentially play more into those areas because he is a big moments player, and you tend to find that those big moments can happen with players when they play in those kind of wider positions, like we saw with Bukayo Saka, of course, over many, many seasons with him. But my word, what a number 10 performance from Eze in the game. The first goal, of course, comes from really good work from Julian Tim around the right-hand side. Some really fantastic passing combinations with Saka. Cross comes in, easily cleared, but only cleared as far as Declan Rice. And look at that, Declan Rice passing forwards. Who would have thought? Apparently it's something he can't do. But passing forwards to Eze in the box. Couple of little touches. Beautiful piece of footwork before just absolutely slamming a shot, which again takes a slight deflection. But, I mean, it's absolutely nowhere near Vicario getting enough time to be able to respond. Now, there is a little bit of a question mark about this. There's a question mark about whether or not the goal should have stood, whether or not the players that were standing in the way or behind the kind of the Tottenham line is there in any way a question mark about are they interfering with the goalkeeper's line of view? For me, I think that the way that the ball is struck, it's so quick, it's in the eye line of the goalkeeper that I don't think you can have an argument really about whether or not it should have been ruled out as an offside. So I don't think so. I think you have to take into account the position of players, the movement of players, the eye line of the goalkeeper. Like Andrew Robertson ducks underneath the ball. I still don't really think that that's enough. I don't think Donnarumma is getting anywhere near Van Dijk's header in that example. And of course, there was another example in the Liverpool game against Nottingham Forest, where, of course, I can't remember who it was that scored, but there was another player who also found themselves standing in an offside position, but the goal was allowed to stand, whereas Liverpool's wasn't. So it seems that there's always these situations where a number of different examples happen in quick succession. Michael Oliver, of course, was the referee on the day, and I was very happy with his display. You know, we had a lot of talk about Michael Oliver before the game, but he had absolutely zero bearing on this game. Really no bearing at all. It was Murillo, thank you, Claire, with the goal. He had no bearing on the game, and that's good. Arsenal took the game away from the referee. The only thing that annoyed me about Michael Oliver was that he got in the way of Leandro Trossard in the second half, where he absolutely could have had a better chance on goal if it wasn't for Oliver standing right in his pathway. I don't know why he was standing there or why he happened to be there, but he was. But anyway, getting back to Eze, of course, at the halftime, you're thinking Arsenal 2-0 up, very comfortable. I think we're going to move on to a very easy victory. And straight after halftime, again, Eberechi Eze, another brilliant goal. And the ball kind of gets caught under his feet. It's Timber, of course, with the pass. The ball kind of gets caught in a way, and he has to kind of shuffle before getting the ball onto his left foot and then kind of guide this curling shot into the bottom left-hand corner. It just shows you the ability that he has on both feet, what he's capable of achieving. And you're thinking at that point, you know, two goals for Eze. Surely you can't go on and get the third. Of course, between the second and third Eze goals, we see a brilliant, you have to say, fair play to Richarlison. I mean, it's frustrating that Zubimendi held on to the ball for so long, and Raya, I know, off his line. I don't really have too much of a complaint about Raya, to be fair. Like, it's he's told to stand there. It's not a trait. It's not a characteristic of Raya, and I know he's been lobbed before, but it is part of how Arsenal play. He is part of the team. He is part of the outfield setup, is Raya. So sometimes you are going to concede. You just got to hope that when you do concede those goals, it happens in moments where it doesn't ultimately matter. But from a person, I think has it happened against Spurs before? Obviously, I think Sarr scored one from like long range over Raya. Was it over Raya in pre-season? Can't remember if it was Raya or whether it was Kepa or somebody else. I think it was Raya. But it just seems that 2 games in a row where they've scored 2 goals from really long range, and obviously it's something that they are and have been told to look at because they've now done it. Arteta did it as well, Curtis. You're right. Again, for Crystal Palace, did a similar goal from slightly closer. But of course, at that point, you're thinking 3-1. Are Spurs going to get back into the game? They never really threatened. They never really kind of built on that moment. There was a couple of attacks that Arsenal dealt with very comfortably, and you're thinking, are Arsenal going to be able to get a fourth and just kill off this game? And well, the answer to that, as we know, is yes. Leandro Trossard, again, really important play down Arsenal's left-hand side. Merino involved once again in the build-up for the goal. Little reverse pass round the corner, and Trossard finds the perfect ball across to Eze, whose first touch, again, I just continually feel like I'm using the word first touch, but his first touch to kind of move the ball to his right before he curls the effort round Vicario to score Arsenal's fourth. Well, just caps off a perfect afternoon. He thanked God after the game, said he prayed for this before the match. Well, tell you what, it's easy to believe in God when your life is throwing up things like this after you've prayed. So absolutely brilliant from him, and an amazing example. And of course, I did say to my Tottenham colleague who I was sitting next to, Ali Gold, I said to him, I thought that Thomas Frank was a little naive to say Eze who in the press conference. I thought that might just come back to bite him. And indeed, it did in a great, wonderful way. So just a couple of highlights and performances from the game that I think deserve extra credit. Trying to bring some attention to Piero Hincapie, of course, did have to replace Gabriel in the starting lineup, and I thought he was really good. I only gave him a 7 out of 10. The reason I gave him a 7 out of 10, and people will go, well, I think he probably deserves at least an 8, and I think that's probably fair. The reason why is because there was so many different kind of levels of performances. Like Eze was a 10 for me, Trossard was a 9. There's another player I want to talk about who I thought was an 8, who was slightly better than Hincapie. So I had to put him as a 7. It's kind of context around kind of the levels. So don't take it as a criticism. I only put him as a 7. It was more to do with the performances of other players who I thought were slightly better than him, and I couldn't give him the same result as the others. That's why. So people said it was harsh, but it was kind of in context, it makes more sense. But again, I thought he filled in brilliantly. He didn't have loads to do, and I think that's part of the reason why I couldn't rate him any higher than what I did compared to some of the others who had a lot more to do in the game. And Curtis points that out as well. But everything that he did have to do, he was just so strong. He was just so good. Ames says he might have been limping when he left the field, and we'll come on to some of that in a second, because I think we could have avoided some of these fitness maybe issues, and we'll talk about that shortly. But yeah, just excellent performance from him. Really excellent performance from Hincapie, who filled in and won a lot of headers, as Zakun points out in the chat box as well. So brilliant from him. What have I done? Oh, I've closed. Why have I done that? Just closed down the slideshow instead of blowing on to the next one. Give me a second. I'll get the next slide up on the screen for you. But yeah, you just have to point towards the quality of a player like Gabriel, and when you have a player that has to fill in for him, then obviously, that's a credit to the player that does it. Mikel Merino, I said I wanted to bring some attention to him. How many times are we going to have to say this? How many times are we going to have to talk about the fact that Merino is going to start a big game for Arsenal as their centre forward? And there's complaints and moans and people going, oh, no, not again. How many times is this guy going to have to disprove your worries, disprove your woes? Scoring big goals in big games, producing fantastic moments of link-up and passing and hold-up play. He just continues to be a very, very, very good player. He's been a very, very good signing for Arsenal. There cannot be any question mark about whether or not he has been a hit or a miss of a signing. He's been great. He's been absolutely brilliant. And he's filling kind of this. I think Mohamed El Neni was like the last cult hero figure I can think of in the Arsenal lineup that wasn't like a guaranteed starter, but just would always produce 6s and 7s and 8s out of 10 in their performance. And I think Merino, again, another 8 out of 10 performance from him. Fantastic pass to Trossard. Another really good reverse pass to Trossard, as we all mentioned in the second half, that led to Eze's third goal. He held the ball up well. He ran the line really well. He pressed really well. It's just a great false nine display from him. You have to say that Arsenal have 4 genuine centre-forward options in Gyökeres, Havertz, Jesus, and now Mikel Merino, who he absolutely is one. Mikel Arteta was asked after the game some questions about Merino and kind of about the role and the movement of him in the game. He says, I think he was incredible again. We are asking him to fill in as a 9, and he's not a 9. Disagree, to be honest, and to do a lot of things that as a 9 has to do, but he's such an intelligent player, and his work ethic and his desire to contribute and make others better is that big, and those performances give you the right reason to continue to trust him. I mean, yeah, I think it was Miguel Delaney asked the question, said, he got a lot of kind of, does it irritate you when you see him being described as a defensive player? And he says, I don't know, he's a defensive 9. He joked on the day. So, yeah, really, really good performance from Mikel Merino in this game once again. But the last player I want to give kind of particular emphasis on, because I think he deserves it, is Declan Rice. Now, when you look at performances of players in games and kind of their attitude and their mentality and their leadership and just leading by example, for me, like Julian Timber was another one on the day I thought was excellent. Saliba had a good game. Calafiori had a good game. Zubimendi, other than the mistake that led to the Richarlison goal, had a good game. Saka had a good game. But Declan Rice, again, had a standout performance for me and was just so strong. Transitions was excellent. The way in which we found ourselves attacking into kind of these advanced positions with such fervour and aggression was all about Rice. The pass into Eze for his first goal is all about that kind of desire to get the ball forward straight away. And I know that I think Claire's a great comment from Claire. This says Declan does this every game. Sometimes it's taken for granted just how world-class he is. I think you're absolutely right. We take for granted. These are the types of games where sometimes we just skip over them. We wouldn't say anything. We wouldn't really talk about it. We wouldn't really kind of tackle it. But I think it's one of those performances that you absolutely have to draw your eyes toward. If you're going to rewatch the game, just rewatch it to just see what Rice does. Just watch that Rice performance again, because it will definitely show you why we need to make it So clear. Also in this picture, just notice the scarves that are in the room. I don't think anyone's really picked up on this. It was a big theme of last season. Make it happen. That was kind of the tagline. And in that dressing room, there are scarves that just say "Make it happen," all in that dressing room. I thought that was a little detail that people hadn't really picked up on from some of these pictures that were doing the rounds after the game. After says player ratings, please. You can go and read all my player ratings on the Football.London website. If you type in Tom Canton, Football London, you can read all of my player ratings from the game. So always available on the whistle. After every single Arsenal match, I do a player ratings piece so you can read my thoughts on the performances of players there. Now, I have one small, teeny weeny nitpick. One small, little complaint. One small, what's the word? Indulge me. That's the word. Just indulge me for a second. Eberechi Eze scores Arsenal's 4th goal in the 76th minute of this game. At that point, we had made no subs. Not a problem. No subs. 2 minutes after Eze's goal, Leandro Trossard comes off. Noni Madueke comes on for Arsenal's first change in the game. Arsenal have got Bayern Munich on Wednesday. We have a limited squad to a degree and players coming back from injury. After that Madueke change, Arsenal didn't make another substitution until the 88th minute. 10 minutes later, Mikel Merino was replaced by Waneri. Hincapie was replaced by Mosquera. And actually, as Hincapie was being replaced, Ricardo Calafiori was on the floor, kind of like pulling it, felt like he was trying to deal with some cramp. And I thought it was obviously going to be Calafiori that made way for Mosquera, and I thought Hincapie might go left back. But it took 4 more minutes until Calafiori was then changed by Miles Lewis-Skelly, and we then had one sub still remaining in the game. I am being so nitpicky, and you can feel free to complain about me complaining, but I think this is a really important point, and I wrote about this morning in my piece, which did include a lot of positives, of course. It's overwhelmingly positive game, but I think this is really important to highlight, because if there is one thing that is going to stop Arsenal from competing, winning trophies, I feel as though the fatigue, the injuries, and we can complain about the misfortune when it comes to injuries, and there is definitely a level of misfortune when it comes to injuries, absolutely. But I think these are the moments where we can control somewhat more about reducing the risk of injuries. When Eze scores that 4th goal, triple change. Merino off, because we don't know about what's going to happen on Wednesday with our centre forwards. We don't know who's going to play there. Merino off. Trossard off, Saka off. Then a few more minutes later, you can bring one of Hincapie or Calafiori off. Perhaps Rice has to come off. I just felt we've got Norgard available to bring on if you want to. You got Madueke there. You've got Mosquera on the bench. You've got Lewis-Skelly. I think you have to make more changes earlier. And I think you have to protect those players because we've got such a big game on Wednesday and then another massive game on the weekend when we play Chelsea as well. So I'm sorry that there's a slight tinge of negativity here, but I think it's a fair one. And I think it's a fair nitpick from this game. And if we want to be the best, and Mikel Arteta is a perfectionist, no doubt in my mind about that. If we want to be the best and win everything, I think we need to be a little bit more proactive with those changes. I think we need to protect those players a bit longer. He's obviously privy to far more information than I am, and maybe there's other reasons why they didn't do that. I don't know about how the players are coming off the bench, their loads, what they're able to do. But I just feel like that is really, 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 really important. That even if we don't know who's going to play on Wednesday, protecting those players and giving some other players some minutes going into Wednesday who might play on Wednesday, I think that is really important to point out. But I have to put the caveat that, again, we don't know certain elements of the discussion. We don't know who is in the red, who is going to play on Wednesday. We don't know that. I feel like Wednesday is. Mikey says Wednesday is not so important. I think it's more important than people realise to Arteta. I agree with Andrew on this when he was talking to me about it on Thursday. I think Arteta is going to be desperate to win that game against Bayern. Arsenal's history against Bayern is just so damaging that I think he's going to really want to win that game. It might not be as important to you because you think that we have bigger fish to fry, and I would tend to agree with you, but I think that Arteta is going to target that game and really go for it. I think they're really going to try and beat Bayern on Wednesday and send out an even bigger statement to the rest of Europe, not just the league, and of course, kind of put right the wrongs of previous seasons against them. So, yeah. So while I think that still injuries, the volume of injuries that we get, the misfortune that goes alongside the bad luck that we have is definitely the primary reason. It's moments like this for me where you can have more control over kind of reducing the risk, from those games. So yeah, that's key for me. So just before we go to part 2 and tackle some of your question marks, some of your thoughts and comments, and I will be wrapping up at about 10:02 today because I've got to hop on to the radio at 9. But just quickly looking at the table, Arsenal 6 points clear of Chelsea, who won their game, but a perfect weekend because Manchester City beaten by Newcastle. We are now 7 points clear of Manchester City after 12 games played, 24 goals scored, 6 conceded. Liverpool. Oh, hold on, they're not on the picture. Oh, I don't know what's happened there. Sorry, there must be a glitch. I'll just refresh. Let me just refresh my. That can't be right. 2 seconds. I'm gonna refresh this. No, that must be right. Hold on. Premier League.com. Just got to double check this. Scroll down. Oh my goodness. 11th. £400 million spent. What? Let's go to part 2 in your questions right after this. I didn't want to include this in the same section I talked about bottom halves of Premier League tables because the only team that is in the top half and the very top of the table of the top half in the VPN world is NordVPN. And if you want to get yourself a significant discount off a 1 or a 2 year plan and get exclusive 4 extra months off that plan, go to nordvpn.com/Gooner and get yourself a significant discount, as I say, and a 30-day money-back guarantee if you're not happy with the plan. For whatever reason, I know why you wouldn't be, but it's there just to give you that peace of mind. As the same peace of mind you can get when you're on the net, a public Wi-Fi service, give yourself an extra shield to your data, block those snoopers and criminals that want to grab it. And on top of that as well, of course, you can listen to your favorites while you're abroad by changing your geodigital location on your laptop, your mobile, or indeed your tablet. But thank you to Nord, as always, for sponsoring the channel. Now, before I go into your questions, I'm gonna just go a little bit me for a second, because thank you, first of all, for all of your very kind birthday messages over the weekend. It was my birthday on Friday. And I have to say, I mean, beyond getting married, and perhaps probably I should say my honeymoon, and I imagine in the future the birth of a child, this has to be one of the greatest weekends of my life I have ever experienced. Thank you so much for the kind donation, Aki. It says, happy birthday, Tom. I missed the show on your birthday being sick. I hope you feel better, mate. Here's a little token for a pint yesterday was the players and Arteta telling us, the fans, that they are ready. Time for everyone to back this team. Let it all work out. Indeed. Thank you so much, Akin, for your kind donation. That's very kind of you indeed. But yeah, what a weekend. Friday, obviously press conference. Nice little message from the manager, which I played to you the other day. And went out with some friends in the evening. Brilliant time. Had a lovely, lovely evening with some friends, eating the best food in the world, which of course is Italian food. And then on Saturday, had a great day with family. And then in the evening, met up with my pal Gabrielle, who's been a big part of the channel in the past, and of course has helped us out at some of our live events with our audio. And we were supposed to be on the guest list for the Some Focus gig in Coco in Camden on Saturday night. Get to the gig, get to the line, not on the list. We were like, oh no, why are we not? We're supposed to be on the guest. Why are we not on the guest list? And I'm looking at my mate like, I thought you sorted this out. And then something happened, and 2 minutes later, this guy comes over. And he's basically like, don't worry, guys, you're all sorted. and then proceeds to give us backstage passes to this event. And I don't know what happened. There was something that happened in those 2 minutes that we went from not getting in at all to being given backstage passes to my favorite artist in the entire world. I didn't know this was happening. I don't think my mate knew this was going to happen. My favorite artist in the world is Subfocus. I go on about him all the time. You can see his vinyls on the wall behind me. He's such a big part of my life and how I live. Music is so important to me, and it just defines. It's nostalgic. It links back to memories. It's so important to me, and Subfocus has to be the best for me when it comes to drum and bass. And being able to go backstage at his event was utterly madness. You can see him in the bottom left-hand corner of the pictures on the screen there in the middle. You can see him DJing on the bottom right-hand corner. That was the view that I had. It was a crazy. Met Dimension as well. Those of you that know your drum and bass will know Dimension, top right-hand corner of the screen. He was there to support him. An amazing night. Yeah, Marky says, Carlsberg don't do work birthday weekends. But if they did, or if I did, they would look something like that. And then Sunday, North London Derby victory. I mean, I could not have scripted. I couldn't have scripted this weekend. It was glorious. It was brilliant. It was amazing. And thank you so much for helping me be a part of it. Because there is no, my job doesn't exist without you, without this channel, without this community, without these people, without this brilliant group and collection of souls. You are so humble and kind to me, and I appreciate every single element of it. So thank you. I'm very much of a feeling that things have to happen a certain order. Things have to fall into place for other things to happen, and big believer of that. So thank you to all of you for your kind words and comments and support as always. Really do appreciate it. Really do. Let's start tackling some of your questions. I've got about 10-15 minutes before I have to hop onto TalkSport. So let me just get some of your feelings about the game. And thanks to our members as well. Alex, that's how you Tifo. Game was easy as 1, 2, 3. Love that. As Eze as 1, 2, 3. Justin's been a member for 49 months. Says Eze rejected Spurs just for one reason. For one reason. Love it. Temi, member for 90 months on the channel. Thank you for your support. Back with us, and you're also a member now for 35 months on the channel. Crazy. Closing in on 3 years of support. Brilliant. Reggie says, Tom, I don't understand why winning the quad isn't the most important thing for you. I don't get carried away. One game at a time. One game at a time, people. Rand says, what phase are Liverpool in? Well, they're going backwards at the moment. They're going backwards at the moment. AQE says, Tom, do you think both Victor, Martin, and maybe Kyle will be back for the Bayern game? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I will be at the training ground on Tuesday for the open training session, so I'll be watching part of the training on Tuesday. So we'll be able to see firsthand who is and who isn't there. So that's going to be very important. As he says, Tom, don't tear up, please. I'll do my best. Carl says, anyone fancy some humble pie? My Spurs friends had too much to consume for themselves. Who is Eze? Says, is it? I'm not sure. Who is Eze? Someone asked Thomas Frank for me. Who is Eze, says Isak, putting salt in the Tottenham wounds after not signing for them and scoring a hat-trick against them. I love this club so much. John says, considering our position in the Champions League, would you rather rest some players against Bayern so when we have Chelsea on Sunday, we have a better chance of putting a 9-point lead into the league? Yeah, without a doubt. I think you're absolutely right, John. I think I would be resting players on Wednesday against Bayern. I would be making some changes. I don't know what Bayern's result was this weekend. I think they were losing at one point and then went on to win like 6-2 or something. Let me just see what they beat Freiburg. They were 2-1 down. They were 2-0 down, in fact, but they went on to win 6-2 in the end. In terms of their lineup on the day, they went strong. You know, Diaz started, who's not going to start in the week. Obviously, Elise and Carl, Harry Kane, Pavlovic and Goretzka, and Meccano and Tar. I guess they rotated out their fullbacks. So there was no Conrad Lima, Guerrero, and Kimmich were rested. So was Sasha Bowie. Kim Min-jae was rested, you could argue as well, unless I guess it will be Tar and Upper Meccano. I think Pavlovic came in. So they made some changes, and maybe that led to Freiburg getting the upper hand. But if Arsenal get a 2-0 lead, good luck getting some goals, because it's going to be tricky. But Bayern, of course, drew against Union Berlin in their game before the international break. But I've got back to winning ways by scoring 6 against Freiburg at the weekend. But yeah, I would be resting players. And he says, "Oh, I will have to listen to TalkSport then." Also, look forward to Goldstein and Bent and the two, those other two. You know what? I want to hear all the O'Hara tears. Claire has been a member for 26 months in the channel. Says my Spurs fan colleague called in sick last night. I wonder why. He might have called in. He might have called in sick. Arthur says, when you're on TalkSport, please give a shout out to Jamie O'Hara. Political Junkie says, bringing Dowman on ahead of Madueke or Martinelli makes no sense to me. Those two take precedence because we need them up to speed. Oh, yeah, I agree with you there. I didn't have an issue with that. It was more about the lack of the changes quick enough. We needed changes quicker in the game. That, I think, was really, really important. Justin says, belated happy birthday, Tom. Good to see that you had a brilliant weekend. Here's for a 10th pint on me. Thank you, Justin. Very kind of you indeed. Gita says, has anyone else gorged on the Spurs tears on social media? They're so Moorish. I did watch the watch-alongs. It's always a great joy. It's why I will never, ever again, ever on this channel do watch-alongs. There's just no headspace I could get into where I would want to do a watch-along and put myself in that position whereby people will be able to watch my utter just the picture. I mean, it's worse when you're Spurs as well. Imagine, I mean, watch-alongs as Arsenal fans must be pretty fun these days. We win pretty much all of our games, but a watch-along as a Spurs fan, I mean, that's you. You're a glutton for punishment, really, genuinely glutton for punishment. Hashtag Danny says, I felt the same, Tom. Is there a better game to bring in Dowman at home in the North London derby? We don't have any pressure on it. It could have given the teenager a feeling. I think the others take precedence, but there was maybe a chance to bring him into the game. Maybe. But it wasn't, I don't think, paramount. Just changes in general earlier for me were paramount more so than anything else. Spearman says calling in sick after one match is a bit excessive. People take things very seriously, very seriously indeed. Political Junkie says Timber was immense offensively. He was one of our best players, got an assist, and was involved in so many of our attacks. Yeah, he was gloriously good. Hamza says, funny how Zubimendi has been good for Arsenal, but has caused 3 goals against us, Liverpool, Sunderland, Spurs. You say caused the goals. I think to say that he caused the goals against Liverpool and Sunderland is a joke, and I hope that you are joking. You know, there was a foul on a player in the Liverpool game where you're never going to expect that to go in. Like, please do me a favour. And then the Sunderland one, again, it's not a foul that he commits in that game. It was never a foul, should never have been given a foul. And there's far more players at fault for what happens after the free kick. You can't take a free kick from 70 yards and then blame the guy who gives the free kick away. Like, do me a favour. He's been one of our best players this season. He's been utterly fantastic. And without a doubt will be up there amongst the player of the season nominations for this campaign because he's just been amazing. Mandy says, my nephew, whom is a Gooner, is a good friend of Expressions. Well, you can imagine how he was last night. My brother is also a spud in the family of Gooners. Today is a good day. It's always like when you have a family of Arsenal fans, there's always like, it feels like there's one Spurs fan in there just because like when they're younger, they want to be different and they want to kind of put themselves and set themselves apart from everybody else and spitefully support their rivals. Well, serves you right. Serves you very much right. Amy says, see that in the box program where 4 Gooners and 4 Spurs watch only bits of the game and have no idea who was winning, being aired with Michael McIntyre seems very odd. Yeah, it's not for me, that. I did see that. It's not for me. It's not something I'd ever do. I don't know why you'd ever volunteer for something like that, to be honest. I don't know. I mean, it's probably good entertainment, but to volunteer to do that could never, ever do that. Wes says, Tom, really annoyed that we conceded that goal. Ideally, we need to eradicate those little mistakes. Yeah, I mean, if we're being perfectionists, and we should probably try to be, I mean, Zubi needs to let go of the ball sooner. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But the 3 goals that we conceded, I can't remember the person who it was that highlighted them, but to try and suggest that Zubi was at fault for us conceding at Sunderland and Liverpool is just hilarious. Andy says, you have no idea how unbearable the banter can be. Just imagine you're a Spurs supporter working somewhere and an Arsenal colleague smiles at you all day and you know exactly why. Raybeam says, my kids are Gooners through and through. Too much propaganda in my house for anything else. Gitta says, I even went as far as going on the Fighting Cock forum just to read the back the comments and the posts as the goals were happening in real time. Oh, the saltiness is delicious. Nifty says, my missus and her dad are Spurs fans. You can imagine how that went down. Izzy says, my brother is a Spurs fan and called me the night before to tell me it was the day of reckoning. I called him after the game and still there's been no answer. Absolutely. First says, Tom, did you hear Joe Hart on Match 32 last night? He said the second should have been called off as Trossard was in the line of Vicarious view. I don't think so. I'm going to do a little piece on it today, giving my thoughts and watch it back a little bit more to get more info on it. But I don't think so. I think the manner of the shot, the way in which the goal goes in, the keeper has absolutely no chance at all of stopping it. Right. Apologies that the second part of the show was a little shorter than usual. But as I said, I need to hop onto the radio. I need to get ready for that. So I hope you will forgive me. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your kind words and kind comments. As always, I will be back with you bright and early tomorrow morning because I can do so. The pre-press conference is a little bit later on in the day. So is the training session. So very much look forward to that tomorrow. Looking forward to the game against Bayern. The games are just flowing thick and fast. Every few days there's a new game to think about, to talk about, to get enjoying, to be able to enjoy. So yeah, it's going to be great. Have an absolutely fantastic Monday. If you go into work or school and your friends, your colleagues happen to be a Tottenham fan, just smile at them. You don't have to do anything else other than that. Just smile. I think that's all it'll take. Just a nice little smile. And if you happen to be a supporter of a team that sits in the bottom half of the Premier League table right now, thank you so much as always for listening. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy, respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.